Now, but in today's video, we're gonna fly what is undoubtedly the worst airplane to fly for pilots. Why? Well, because this plane was designed to take off and fly, but never to land. Yes, in today's video, we're going to talk about the Fiesler Fi-103, the Reichenberg, which was Nazi Germany's equivalent to the Japanese Yokosuka MXY-7, which was, of course, Japanese famous suicide bomber, one of the kamikaze squad, that was designed to have a pilot sitting inside of it and flying into enemy target, while, of course, killing the pilot. See, Nazi Germany experimented around a lot with the F-1 flying bomb, which was originally thought to be non-piloted. As you can see, this is the F-1 that was used in war, especially for targets against Britain. It was one of the first cruise missiles, but its automated guidance system kind of sucked. Especially because towards the end of the war, the English have already figured out how to fight against this automated bomb by using countermeasures like anti-aircraft guns. Yes, by 1944, the Germans figured, oh wow, this automated system doesn't really work very well. Why don't we put a pilot into this thing, just like the Japanese do? This is why, once again, the Reichenberg version of this flying missile was developed, a manned missile. Now, this airplane was never used for combat, mainly because it sucked so much. Genuinely. Now, that was found out in a few test flights, which were performed by, for example, Hannah Reich, which was Nazi's test pilot. And while she, as a Nazi, was obviously quite a big fan of this plane, it's almost a mystery how she survived these flights. Genuinely. I mean, the first test flight was from September 1944. It was dropped off from a Heinkel HE-111 as the plane couldn't take off on its own. But the first flight ended in a crash because the pilots lost control of the aircraft after accidentally jettisoning the canopy. The next day, the second flight was conducted, but that also ended in a crash. According to Wikipedia, Hannah Reich herself experienced several crashes which she survived unscathed. On another flight, a wing detached from the aircraft due to the vibrations. It was after all concluded the Fi-103 had a relatively high stall speed and that pilots, while landing, flew this airplane too slow. So we're not only talking about a plane that's hard to land because it doesn't have a landing gear, we're also talking about a plane that was hard to fly. And today we're gonna try to fly this airplane that probably crashes before it even, purposely crashes for fulfilling the mission. That is thanks to the user of Dan Hopgood, who made a little model for it. Now, here in this flight simulator model, we are using the catapult system, which was also used for the V1 missiles. Now, it is kind of buggy here. It doesn't really work very well, but we can look into the cockpit indeed. Let's go ahead and close the canopy. There we go. And we are now looking at what's probably the worst cockpit I've ever seen in my life. Okay, so how do we start up this thing, which is obviously in German here. So here's the battery, it seems. Very interesting battery switch. Here is the canopy unlock. Let's go ahead and lock that in place. Oh, the canopy unlock works very well. This is the air supply. Okay, this is the air for starting the engine. All right, and so what does this do? Starter? Yes, it is starting. Wow. And you can already see the Argus AS014 pulse jet engine was extremely loud. Like, I wouldn't want to imagine how loud it was in the cockpit itself, especially because you have your engine right above you. Also, it was a very highly vibrating engine for sure. Anyway, I think that engine is good. What are those switches? Do they do anything? Oh, we have a little autopilot in there. This is the autopilot back angle hold. This is the autopilot altitude hold. And this is the autopilot pitch hold. Not bad. Now, let's go ahead and get ready for starting. We have a throttle lever right here. And it is probably the most miserable throttle lever I've ever seen ever in the world. I mean, the Thrustmaster joystick offers a better throttle end than this one. Here we have our bucket racing seat. All right, let's see if I can even fly this at all. So in order to actually just start, we have to press the Freigeben, the launch button. So let's do that, launch. Yes! And that launch just worked without any problems at all. Let's go ahead and get in some engine power, and that works. Look at that, not too bad. The sound is absolutely horrible. But look at that, our pulse jet airplane is flying okay. God, it sounds horrible. Anyway, we have a few instruments here. not a lot of them. I think this is the altitude here, which is in meters. So right now we are at 9,000 meters. That can't be right. Maybe that's broken. And we also have this kilometers an hour speedometer right here. And we have a clock. We also do have a heading indicator. And I do have to say, this plane flies okay. I think it must have been so loud and scary to fly this airplane. But here we go. We're looking okay. It's very interestingly controllable. I mean, it doesn't have any flap surface. It doesn't have anything of that. But that's kind of all it needed for its purpose, to be honest. I mean, as long as the wing doesn't separate like it does in real life, I mean, we can crash this plane into a field and successfully deploy our mission. Now, let's go ahead and perform a landing. For that, let's go ahead and choose the airdrop method of getting this plane into the air. Now, this has us spawned in below a Heinkel 111 bomber. As you can see, the engines are already on, and we can separate like that here using this button. Let's do that. There we go. We are now separated from the Heinkel bomber indeed, and now we can go flying. Now, once again, landing is where most mishaps with the test airplane happen. We only have this skid down there, a single skid, which practically makes no difference, to be very honest. Let's go ahead and see if we can land this plane down there at Innsbruck. All right, come on, let's do it. We are very, very fast. Obviously, this plane has no spoilers, no speed brake, no flaps or no landing gear to slow down at all. So you have to prepare your landing long before approach, because you end up coming in way too fast for landing here. We're now at 500 kilometers an hour. That's just not going to work. So we have to go around or use cheats to get us back a little bit. Yeah, like that. All right, now let's come in for a landing. Now, as much as this is like fun and games in this video and how we're making fun about how poorly this airplane is, designed and built, we shouldn't forget that this was built by slaves in horrible labor camps with horrible living conditions. So that's the negative taste. By the way, we do have a rudder pedal here. Okay, we do have a rudder. Okay, good. Let's go ahead and land now. We're still at 400 kilometers an hour. There's practically no way getting this airplane to slow down, really. So come on, let's maybe just try to touch down. Probably gonna be very fast now. Come on, let's do it. All right, now an outside view. Oh, okay, there, we've done it. And we're just skidding down the runway here, which inevitably ends in a crash. We have to fly this plane at pretty fast speed as we have no flaps. We have to do a very high-speed landing, and the fact that we, don't at all have landing gears, the airplane just ends up tripping, obviously would end in crashes. Now, I mean, talking about runway performance is obviously ridiculous. I mean, okay, we have this catapult system where we can start off wherever we want, really. I mean, now it works and doesn't bug around. We can launch from here. Absolutely no trouble at all. I'm just not quite sure about landing. Let's try to attempt that. Now, we need a little bit less speed now. Come on, yeah, okay, 200 kilometers per hour is not enough. This airplane stalls out. Very bad stall speed here. And that's once again something that led to lots of crashes. Come on, down there is the runway. All right, come on. I can't even see the runway. I cannot see the runway. I didn't see the runway. We just landed wherever. And this plane takes a lot of time to stop. But there we go. We've done it. Hey, at least that was sort of a stall capability. Jesus. Yeah, I think over the course of the video, I've realized that this plane is a lot worse than I would have ever thought. I mean, landing this plane is nearly impossible because it has no landing gear, but also because that nose is so long that you can't really see the runway. Also, we don't have any flaps, so landing at a somewhat landable speed with the nose pointing up, you can't see anything. Also, this is such an unethical airplane in the way it was built and the way it was, intended for usage. The way the pilots are in misery and miscomfort. I think we can all agree this must be the worst thing ever made. Luckily, the war ended and Germany lost before this airplane could have ever been used, saving lots of souls as victims, both pilots and targets. This model here by Dan Hopgood definitely is very well done and gives us a nice glimpse into this pretty much museum piece. Everybody, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I'll see you guys in the next one. As always, good night.